Welcome everyone to this second session of day two of Virtual Grassroot India Tour organized by India Avenue in association with Motilal Oswal. We have this session with an interesting company from India, InfoEdge. Uh, from the company, we have Mr. Vivek Agarwal, who's a Senior Vice President, Finance, Legal and Investor Relations, joined us. InfoEdge is India's largest pure play internet companies, which is experiencing significant growth potential through India's rising internet penetration. In fact, just to give a stat, Indians now are spending almost four hours plus in front of their mobile screens these days amidst lockdown. InfoEdge was incorporated in 1995 and became a public listed company in 2006, starting with the classified recruitment online business, Naukri.com. InfoEdge has grown into a diversified, rapidly growing online classified companies in recruitment, matrimony, real estate, education, and related services. Today's discussion will focus on the growth opportunities going forward for them and the internet space in India in general, as well as also some thoughts on the impact of COVID on their business and how they're coping with it. With that introduction, and without further ado, let me hand over the mic to Vivek. Vivek, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me, Gaurav?
Your voice is very feeble, Vivek.
Yeah, can you hear me? Is it better now? Is it better?
Uh, I don't think so. Mukundan, can you hear him?
No, I can't.
No, it's very, very feeble. I don't know why.
Let me try and join in some other my handphone. Just wait for a
Hello, Vivek. I think we're just trying to join back. So let's wait for him. Yeah, let's join back. Yeah, hello, Vivek.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, this is perfect.
It's perfect. That's great.
Yeah, this
So
is
I'll put
perfect.
myself. I'll switch off my video because normally the quality of audio suffers if both the video and audios are on.
Sure, sure, no problem.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So okay, that's great. Thank you, Gaurav. Thanks for the introduction and thanks for giving us this privilege to come over and talk about the company and what are the challenges or
Okay.
opportunities we are going ahead. First of all, I wish everyone is safe and healthy. And I hope every one of you and your families are keeping safe in these difficult times. Uh, so how do you want to proceed? Should we prefer a Q&A round or whatever the way you want to go ahead with? Sorry, I can't hear you, Gaurav. You are maybe in mute.
Sorry. So
Yeah.
if you have a presentation that you want to share, if that is something that you want to do, or you can start with an opening remark about,
Sure,
say, the
sure,
journey of.
sure. So we have not yet come up with our Q4 results right now. So
Yes,
therefore we don't have any numbers right now to discuss.
sure.
But yes, I can talk through what has gone through in last 2 months and where do we see things going ahead now. While talking,
Sure.
Vivek,
Yeah.
it's Mukundan here from India Avenue in Australia. So
yeah, I'm good.
many of our listeners and participants are not as familiar with the company as perhaps you might be in India. So it would be great to just give us a little bit of highlights of the journey of the business over the last 25 years, what the
Sure.
strengths have been, and what you think the potential is going forward.
Sure, sure. I'll talk about the way things are in InfoEdge and how do people view InfoEdge if they have to evaluate, kind of put a price to the stock. how the journey started. So the way to really evaluate Info Edge is there are two pillars of our value creation. We have got an operating side and we have an investing side. When we talk about the basic nature of the company, it's an online classified business company. In all our operating model businesses, we are only into classified businesses where we try to bring in both sides of our transactions together in contact with each other, and that's a point where that's a point where the relation ends between us and them. We normally try to monetize the B2B part of the business through the user part of it. So for example, we have got three businesses where we have business side who pays us on a subscription model. So we have got Naukri, which is a recruitment platform where the recruiter pays us. We have got 99 acres where the builders or the broker pays us. And then we have Shiksha where the education institution pays us. Talking about, so I'll first focus on the operating side of the business and then we can come to the investing side. Talking about the operating part, in three of the, I would say in all four of the businesses, we are kind of having a quite a dominant presence in the market, at least in the recruitment side and the real estate segment. In the other two areas, which is education and matrimony, we have a decent presence in the market. So there are other players also where we compete aggressively with them. Talking about recruitment, started somewhere in around in around 1995, but the real thrust to the business started coming from somewhere around 2007. There was a time where we were competing with few of the multinational players like Monster. We had certain local players like Jobs Ahead. That time, Naukri's share overall in in recruitment segment was somewhere around 35-37%. Monster was trading around at 40-45%. Since then, the company has been able to build successfully in terms of brand presence, in terms of product. Over time, last I would say 12-13 years, the business would have grown almost around 14 to 15%, 15 to 16% on an annual basis. This is a CAGR that we are talking about. In today's environment, we are the dominant player in the market. If we see ourselves in terms of traffic share, our traffic share would be at least around 90%. When I compare us with all other job boards, which is domestic as well as multinational. So when I talk about domestic job boards, we have players like Monster, we have players like Times Job, we have Shine, which is again owned by Hindustan Times Group. Times Job is owned by Times of India Group. Monster is being owned by Quest Corp. And then we have Indeed also, who has been trying to get a foothold in the market for last 3-4 years, spending aggressively on advertising. All these players put together would be around 8 to 9% of the overall traffic that generates in recruitment segment on the internet. I am not putting up LinkedIn here because LinkedIn operates in a different segment. They are more of an intellectual networking side. They do have recruitment as one of their product offering, but I would still say that they have a different space or area of operations. Their product is quite niche and they try to cater to a very premium segment of recruitment market. Naukri is more into mass hiring where both the recruiter as well as job seeker would register themselves for the services because they are looking for a job, and both the recruiter is aware that people who are appearing on Naukri are in search of jobs. They'll find profiles which are very active, very up to date, and the kind of interaction that they could have, the kind of information they could get from the Naukri platform is unparalleled compared to any other platform right now in the country. Business had been growing almost around at 14-15% from financial year 2015 to 2018. 2019, we had a decent year where we grew almost around 19%. Last 3 quarters, the growth has been tapering off primarily because the economy has been slowing down. What drives the growth in the Naukri? We obviously are a kind of a recruitment or an employment exchange, online employment exchange for the country. We specifically deal with jobs which are formal, white collar, non-government. And accordingly, we also get linked to the way the economy performs, or I would say the GDP performs. In case if the GDP is doing well, then there's a decent amount of thrust on consumption and there's a job creation that also happens, and it also impacts the formal private sector job market. And accordingly, the growth, the requirement for Naukri grows. And in those years where GDP has grown at 18, at say 8 or 9%, we would have seen growth coming from in the north of around 20% also. But in case where the GDP goes down to say 4.5, 5%, as happened in last 2 or 3 quarters, we see our growth also doubling down. We have a reflection of every segment of the customers on our on our platform. So we have IT, we have manufacturing, we have real estate, we have manufacturing, construction, services segment. IT being the biggest job creator in the economy right now, it gives directly, indirectly, it brings around 42% of our revenue. I would say directly, indirectly, because direct IT customers would give around 30%. We have around big segment of headhunters and third-party recruiters who also use Naukri services, which gives around 25% of our revenue. We have tried to do some kind of analysis with these headhunters, and our assessment is that they even cater to 50-55% to IT-enabled services. So probably around 40-43% is the overall contribution of IT-enabled services to the platform. In terms of our customer base, we would have almost around 85 to 90,000 customers who are using the platform on a yearly basis. I would say they would have used the platform at least once in a year basis. And that number has been growing around 6 to 7% on a year-on-year basis. In terms of profitability, Naukri is highly profitable. We operate at a margin of around 53-54% plus. And that margin has actually been intact for at least last 3 years. We are trying to see whether the business requires additional investments, and accordingly we try to create those budgets in our plans also. And going forward, we at least assume that there could be some kind of dilution because of newer options that are coming up in the market. We have our own investment strategy where we would want to grow business as we go further, because there is a kind of maturity which comes in the market in terms of number of new customers that could grow on the platform. And accordingly, we had created multiple areas to further grow in. So areas like blue collar job market, areas like premium job market. We are trying to explore, can we improve the platform itself by augmenting features like artificial intelligence, machine learning, and also trying to put in money into few newer startups who are trying to explore HR and recruitment environment. So they are coming up with newer products like HR related tools. There are new, I would say, on the job or vocational courses which are more linked to earnings of a candidate. So we are also trying to put some money. So different avenues are there where we are trying and experimenting how to grow further in Naukri as a business. Moving on to 99acres, that's an area where we compete significantly with players like Magicbricks and Housing, though we are the market leader. But both these players have been very committed, decent player in the market. They have been there for last 10-12 years, spending aggressively in marketing. And they have also emerged as a decent brand right now in the market. The business deals with both property dealers and builders and developers community. In India, there's a big chunk of advertising spend that is done by builders and developers. And accordingly, they had that kind of revenue presence in our overall revenue also. So almost around 50-52% of revenue for our overall platform used to come from builders and developers almost 2 years back. Now with kind of issues in the macroeconomic environment, now COVID, earlier there was demonetization, then we had GST coming in, then we have real estate regulatory bill called RERA that had come in. Builders have been cutting down their spends on the marketing side, and accordingly, we are seeing the stagnation coming in from the builder side of the customer community. We have on the other side, we are seeing broker penetration improving significantly on our platform. So there were around 13-14,000 brokers who were using platform almost a year back. What now has gone up to around 22-23,000. So that's an area where we are seeing that we could penetrate further, and that's where we could see more vibrancy coming on the platform, because If a builder comes, then he advertises one project, and if the broker comes in, they bring in variety of properties to the platform and gives buyers a bigger choice. So brokers now contribute almost around 53-54% of our overall revenue. In terms of growth, again, yeah, this is a segment which again is impacted deeply by macroeconomic factors. Bad environment actually changes the buyer sentiment. It takes time for the kind of optimism to come back to the market, and accordingly it impacts our revenue also. Now with COVID coming in, we saw a significant fall in the user traffic on the platform for last 2 months. Same thing happened when demonetization was announced. The very next day, the traffic fall 90% on the platform. And it impacts our revenue also. So for financial year 2016, when demonetization was announced, to 2018, we saw a revenue growth of around 13-14%. But 19, we suddenly saw revenue growing up by 35%. In first 3 quarters also, we were seeing revenue growing in the north of 18 to 20%. So again, with COVID coming in, we're seeing that overall sentiment would go negative. Brokers community could further go down and may not be spending that much on the platform. And we would see at least that next 2-3 quarters is something which we would easily anticipate the business to come back. Talking about our third business, which is Bharat Matrimony, which is Jeevan Sathi. It's a matrimony business. Here we are competing with players like Bharat Matrimony, which is very dominant in the southern part of the country, and Shaadi, which is again the northern part, which operates in the northern part of the country. Here we are kind of trailing. We are third in the overall sequence of our competition. Bharat Matrimony is almost 4 times our revenue. Shaadi is also quite big and quite dominant in few of the communities. But it is an area where we are trying to put in more money, trying to create space for ourselves. We are pushing both the competitors with aggressive marketing and aggressive discounting. We're seeing increase in customer base year on year. Last year, number of registrations customers have gone up almost by 10-15%. This year also we saw decent enough increase in customers, as well as our revenue has also been increasing almost around 20% for last 2 quarters. This is an area which didn't got impacted too much by COVID impact. It's a consumer product, and the traffic and the kind of utilization which we are seeing from the users of the platform, it has not got significantly impacted by COVID. Talking about our Shiksha business, it's a small business. It's a education classified where we would put ads from universities, colleges, both domestic as well as international. And then students who are looking for, say, postgraduate or graduate, both in domestic as well as foreign universities, they would log in, get their required information. It's a slow growing business, but it is not a cash kind of guzzling. We spend very minimum amount. Normally, business operates at a break-even level, or at times it also makes couple of 100,000s of in terms of profitability. Moving over to our investing businesses, we started investing somewhere around in 2006, 2007, when the internet market was booming. So our promoters, Mr. Sanjeev, he realized that there's a lot of potential that is there in the business in this environment, but there is a bandwidth issue, and kind of growth that he saw in different classified businesses and the kind of promoters that were coming in. He found that it was always good to let those promoters work out and create an environment for their own, and they could be supported by Info Edge, and whatever value creation happens, Info Edge could be kind of part of those value creation. Since it is difficult to have most of those promoters on board because they are entrepreneurs, and it's difficult to have kind of control or restricted environment. So we started investing in most of these startups. We did around 12 to 14 startups from 2007 to 2010 to 11. Couple of them did well, like areas like Policy Bazaar, Zomato. They've settled up well in the environment. In terms of operations, they are currently the market leaders in the businesses that they are working with. There are few areas where we burned money also, but in last 2-3 years we have gone aggressive. We have been investing in a lot of new startups which are tech enabled, and where we see that the products are very different, localized, suiting to the Indian requirement. So that's a story about it. That's so we can take up the questions and you can discuss about any particular area that you would want to discuss.
Yeah, thanks, Vivek. Appreciate that introduction. So, could you comment on what the profit growth of the business has been over the last 5 years?
So if I see my business overall profitably, so uh, it's in order to evaluate our overall profitability, you have to see through specific business profitability, right? Now, for example, Naukri has been always maintained, or I would say, kind of margin of around 52, 53%, 54%. So they have maintained those kind of margin ranges. And when the revenue grows at around 17% CAGR, our margin has also been growing at 16, 17% CAGR, right? Uh, we are not very optimistic in terms of, or I would say we are rather conservative when we are giving any kind of information about margins, because we feel that we won't be able to maintain this kind of margin at least going forward, because there are a lot of newer investment areas which are kind of experimentations which we are trying to improve the overall brand experience and the product experience for the consumers, and which are mandatory with the kind of changes that are happening on the ground. Now, those changes could not be capitalized and may not be monetizable in immediate future, but which are bare minimum which we have to incur, right? So areas like AI, machine learning, features like data sciences, we have more of digitizations uh, coming in. We just hired a chief business officer in Naukri who comes from Adobe, who is a PhD in data sciences and who started working, creating these parameters, these building blocks in the organization. So it is difficult to maintain those kind of margins level, and hiring and retaining this kind of talent is really expensive, where there's a lot of demand coming in from large e-commerce players like Paytm, Flipkart, Ola, Uber. So we have always been saying that our margin may get diluted at least by 2 or 3 percentage points. In case if our revenue is able to compensate for the kind of increased investment, we may not see that dilution. But as a matter of fact, we have always been guiding that there could be some dilution coming in this business. Now, coming to 99 acres, business had lost almost around, say, 250 crores in last 10 years, 10 to 12 years. When I say 250 crores, it's a kind of cash loss, which we would have paid from the overall Info Edge kitty of revenue or profitability that we earn. In last 1 year, I would say last 3 quarters, business has almost been operating at a break-even level. Though the idea is to still keep on trying to invest and create a space, penetrate deeper into tier 2 community, tier 2 markets, penetrate deeper into broker community. So idea is not to push for profitability, but yeah, that's an area where either we could remain at break even or may have some kind of nominal loss in the business. But these things that I'm talking about was more of pre-COVID period. In a normal scenarios where these kind of assumptions work, now with changes happening, even we are not sure how things will shape up, because last 2 months have been really, really difficult for businesses like real estate, and not sure that when will the paradigm of growth return back to the business. So it may take some time, but in a normal scenario, that's what we could have expected. Jeevan Sati, where we have investments going on, we lose around 12 million dollars a year, which is something which we may carry on for a year or so. In terms of Shiksha, it's kind of a break-even business. We don't expect too much of a losses there. But I think while talking about the company, I'd missed out one important point. We also created an AIF, which we did somewhere in January this year, where we committed around 150 crores. So this is a separate fund that we have created, where we are now trying to put in all new further investments that we do in our startup environment will now be channeled through this AI. So it's a class 2 fund which is approved by SEBI.
Vivek, there's a couple of questions that have come through. So obviously, over the last 20 years or so, internet penetration in India has been rising tremendously. So
Yes.
going forward, is your growth going to be driven still by further penetration? And if you could comment on what that is, or will it be driven more by the specifics of the, the four businesses that you're in and the investments that you have
I'm sorry, can you repeat? As your question is that further increase in internet penetration would make me get into more operating businesses?
No,
or
so what I was asking is over the last 20 years or so, obviously a lot of the profitability of the business is also coming from the fundamental tailwind that is more internet penetration. Going forward, do you expect that same rate of penetration to continue for some time, or the business then be driven more by its competitive instincts relative to competitors?
So what has, obviously increased penetration of internet has helped. It has provided us kind of consumer base, which is I think quite stable for quite few for last few quarters. Going forward, do we see will the further penetration improve our consumer base? The kind of growth that we had seen earlier may not be there now, at least on the penetration side. Obviously, the utilization is improving over time. The data utilization per consumer has been going up, which is bound to go and increase further. The kind of spending capability people had earlier will obviously improve going forward, and internet till now had been more of a instrument where people use it for social networking, music downloads, video downloads. Will now more be as people see more utility coming in, as there are more consumer products coming in on the platform. There are different changes in the overall dynamics with Geo coming in, a kind of different thrust being given by Amazon, Flipkart, a lot of other players coming in. It should improve. For us, will it directly impact? It will have to wait for a while, and it will throw up accordingly, because R is a business where we try to monetize more from the business side of it. We do not get too much impacted by the way how the consumer increases on the platform. So we have all our paying customers who are like businesses or corporates. Even for Naukri, we have 92% of our revenue coming only from the recruiter side of the value chain. We will get bigger consumer base on the platform once the kind of transition happens more from informal to formal economy. If there is a kind of increase in scale of, say, SMEs, right, and we see that there is kind of formal hiring that has started happening to a greater extent in these SMEs, small and medium organizations, then we could have an increased penetration of Naukri into these businesses. Which obviously could be one of the driver could be increased penetration of the businesses, increase in per capita income. Multiple factors could drive that. Similarly, for a business like 99acres, if you have to say penetrate into tier 2 business, right? Now, the penetration can improve when the group housing kind of facility starts coming in tier 2 cities, right? Today, buying in these tier 2, tier 3 cities happen very, very hyper local. People would prefer to buy houses, look out for rented accommodations where they have someone known, where they understand the locality. But once the group housing comes in, then it is easier for them to track, understand the features. Housing is more organized, the documentation trail, giving floor maps, giving virtual tours is much more easier. And for a platform like ours, you get more amount of content that you can put on the platform. So I would obviously increase in penetration would drive in, but how the kind of change happens from informal to formal, rural to urban, how the per capita income improves, all these factors has to come along.
Okay, next question is about would InfoEdge venture into consumption online sale businesses like, for example, Walmart and Flipkart or Amazon? And if not, then why not?
So I don't think if going forward, we would have any plans to enter into any of these business. If we had, why not now? Because I think it's already too late. We would have already both these players, Flipkart, Amazon, they would have they are already well settled, and it's very difficult to dislodge. It's a kind of cash burning business right now. We've never gone into businesses which are cash guzzlers. We had invested in one or two of the investees, but I think there also we were not successful because we have our own limitation in terms of cash capital availability, and we have normally not gone with businesses which are cash draining, which guzzles in cash, and there's not much of line of sight of profitability in short run.
All right.
Sorry, I was just going to
Mukundan,
ask
can
one.
I? Yeah.
Yeah, please.
Go ahead. Mukundan, go ahead.
Yeah, so the next question is about InfoEdge and obviously having great insight into the current job market in India, given it's, I believe, your largest business in Naukri. Can you give us some insights on the job scenario across sectors in India, and what would be the impact of job losses in terms of your business?
Yeah, so what we do is normally we come up with a monthly index, which we call JobStreak Index. It's available, it's public documents available on our platform, infoedge.in. It gives you a highlight of which city, which experience level, which capability, which skill, which industry, what kind of increase or decrease in job creation is happening. And this is based on the data that gets published on our platform, kind of job posting that happens, the kind of downloads, CV accesses that happens, job application that comes in. We try to create an index for the same. So till March, businesses were seeing kind of some slowdown. We were say around 8 or 9% growth in terms of overall jobs. There were few segments like IT enabled services, BPO and all, where we were seeing some job happening. And that was till February. If you see our latest job index, which we have released in April, jobs posting are almost down by 70%. In areas like hospitality, travel, tourism, it would be maybe down by 95, 96%. So, and it has the kind of this impact has been throughout the country, in every city, every skill level, every experience level. So you could get the entire details available. It's there, and most of it actually gets also, you also see it impacting the revenue for the company.
All right. So Mukundan, I have a couple of questions that have come in from the audience.
Go for it.
A bunch of them are with respect to the investee company, but before that, there is one I think more familiar. We're getting to familiarize with your business kind of a question. This comes from Matt Mims, and he asking, can you explain the matrimony business a little bit more, and what's the market, how it works?
So unlike in any other country, this business is very local, where both potential bride or groom, they would want to search out for a match. And it's an organized platform where the intention is to get married, and that's the reason you normally would register on the platform. We normally give free registrations, and in case if you want to access or contact the other party, then only you are required to take a subscription. So it's a business where I would say we have a potential of, the overall business size would be around say $100 million if we combine all three large players in this industry. We are almost at around $12 to $13 million per annum. Bharat Matrimony, which is the largest one, would be around $40-45 million, and then we have Shaadi, and we have got a couple of small players. So this is a business where we are trying to dislodge the leaders right now, the market leaders right now. Bharat Matrimony, they are almost very dominant in the entire southern part of the country. Because of us being very aggressive in marketing and in terms of price discounting, they started feeling the brunt. Last 6 to 7 quarters, their business has not been growing. I would say they will be growing at around 3 to 4%. Their profitability has got significantly impacted. They are the one who declares the number because they are listed, and the prices right now, stock prices would be around at 30% of their IPO price. What we see in case if there is a consolidation and the industry gets classified maybe in two players, it's a $50 million market for each player, and with kind of rationalization in marketing spend and some kind of pricing power available, the business should be able to grow at around 13 to 14% year on year. Margin should on a normal basis should also be at around say 30-35%. So that's an assumption. It's a kind of market we see in this business, and it's a long-term business. There's a long-term business potential because people normally, at least in India right now, at least 85-90% of marriages are organized and I would say arranged marriages. So there's a long potential for this business to grow.
Sure. So now there are a bunch of questions with respect to your investee companies. I mean,
Yeah.
we know that both Zomato and Policy Bazaar are valuable investments that you've made. So there are a bunch of questions pertaining to that. One is, and I'll list down 2-3 of them together for you to answer one by one. One is, shouldn't the investment vertical be separate business unless some cross-selling is planned? And is this investment activity not taking away management bandwidth and capital? That is one. Second, just on the returns for these investee companies, I mean, if X of Zomato, the XIRR, which is the IRR on this investment, falls, I think, to as low as say 12% or something. So, is there anything else in your portfolio which can help in boosting this, or we want to get rid of something for the IRRs to look respectable? So these are the two questions. I'll come up with follow-ups.
Okay, so let me take the first one, which is why do we not have a separate vehicle where we could drive investments, or we could use it for putting these investments, and the bandwidth issue. So obviously, while the investments were being done from InfoEdge, we had a separate management team who reported to the executive directors and then to the board, which used to do the entire evaluation, contracting, transfers, fund transfers, monitoring, and the existing operating team was not at all utilized there. So Sanjeev himself was monitoring all these investments, and there was, and his full-time job was to look into this investment because Sanjeev is not involved into the operation side of the business. It's entirely handled by Hitesh. But yes, going forward, we had created a separate AIF now, as we just discussed, and we had already started funding few of the newer ideas through the AIF. So going forward, all new investments will happen through AIF. But earlier also, the structure was quite clean, so it was not impacting the overall way the things used to happen in the InfoEdge operating side of the InfoEdge. So this was, so do you want to ask anything else in the first question, or should I take the next one?
Sure, I think this is fine. So moving on to the next, which is the IRR.
On the IRR side, yeah. So on the IRR side, we may remove Zomato, but I think Policy Bazaar has also been recently valued in the last round. It's a very, very strong business. So I have not seen through the basis on which we have arrived at a 12% IRR number. But while we do an internal maths within the organization, the returns that are coming out from these investments are significantly, I would say, significantly doing well if we compare the last round of investments that had happened. So there are few investments where we get to see the numbers or in the media, but there are a lot of other investments like Shop Kirana, Shoe Connect, Gramophone, where the next funding rounds would have happened at significantly higher value, which most of the people around may not be knowing because those news are not there in the media. So the management obviously has a better grip on the kind of valuation that are coming in. We do not emphasize too much on the valuations because again these are private market valuations. When you go and try to monetize them, it may happen at a very different value. So we do not want to try and create kind of impression that the valuation of this portfolio is seemingly higher when it may come out to be a bit different at the time of exiting these investments. We exited in past from Zomato. We exited in in Policy Bazaar also. There were a few startups which didn't go up well, which were also being parted earlier down the line. The last one being Merit Nation, where we didn't saw things to be going the right direction. We didn't saw promoters were being able to do the right justice to the business, and we had exited out there from that business.
Sure. Just a related question. You talked about this fund that you have just launched in January, about 1.5 billion rupees. Has it started to make investments already?
Yeah. So
Okay. So is anything,
we
any
did,
theme
yeah.
that you're following there? Any theme
So
or
nothing
any?
changes, Gaurav, there.
Okay.
Nothing changes there. It's the entire setup remains the same. The team which was monitoring or was involved into screening of these investments has moved to the fund now. The kind of filtering, the kind of areas where we were keen to invest, it has all remained the same.
Sure. Mukundan, over to you.
Yeah, look, I have only one more question, Vivek, which is, when you cast your mind forward, when you're looking at this business, in our portfolio, we own a reasonable size weight in this company. What is the potential for the business? I mean, where do you think the main areas of growth excite you going forward? I mean, you've obviously traveled here, and it's been a very high growth business. But what's the what does the future hold over the next 5 years, for example?
Well, while evaluating where are we going to be in next 5 years, we need to see each business separately and see the kind of growth prospect. For example, in Naukri, I could easily say that Naukri has been growing around 14-15%, and as a business aspiration, we see that in a normal environment where GDP grows at around 6.5-7%, Naukri should grow at least in mid-teens, around 13%, 14%. Now, question may also come in that what will drive the growth now, because we might have reached a market which is saturated. We may not have jobs, more recruiters who could join the platform. So we try to work upon newer products. We are trying to see alternate spaces. We are trying to see blue market space. We are trying to buy stakes into newer startups. If possible, then we'll try to see can we get into similar spaces, create our own products. So these are multiple areas where we try to invest in Naukri, and hopefully that is the kind of growth that we are targeting. And if things remain normal, we should be able to come to those growth numbers also. When we talk about 99 acres, for us, it's a high potential business. It is going to grow. It's just that last 4-5 years had been very volatile. There were too many reforms that had came in, and last 9 months, things were very difficult. We had general elections before in the first part of the year. Then we had NBFC crisis that has come in, which again impacted the funding available in the market. And now we had GDP getting slowed down, and then now we have COVID impact. Otherwise, we could have seen this business at least growing at 20% plus in next 3 to 4 years. It's a big market. There's a lot of spend that happens on marketing in real estate segment, and we had wanted to capitalize on that. But in long run, we at least see, once things stabilize, 18 to 20% growth should not be a challenge in this business. For Jeevansathi, unless consolidation happens or one of the players moves out of the business because of the kind of profitability pressures, it will be difficult to grow. We are growing, but in a profitable way. We were growing almost in 18 to 20% last 2-3 quarters, and that can carry on. But we are right now incurring a lot of money on advertising. If the consolidation happens, we could grow profitably. So this business, at least in a normal range, once consolidation comes in, can grow at around 14 to 15%. There should not be any challenge in that. Shiksha is a business which again is dependent on how the economy performs. In case if things are doing well, then normally schools and colleges, institutes are open to spending money to get more students because it's the only investment where a lot of parents would want to spend money on. In a normal economy, things should be doing well. But even in a case where things are not very well, the business still grows at around 13 to 14%. But it's a small base since it doesn't comes up as a bigger part in our overall valuation. But this business should be able to grow at around 13-14% in a normal course.
Just
But these are all again, these are all again, no one should take them as guidances. These are our aspirations, and a lot of it depends on how external factors also matter. Tomorrow in real estate, suddenly housing goes berserk and starts putting in millions. We may see an impact coming to our business, and it can happen. It has happened in past. It can happen going forward also. Suddenly a new player indeed because LinkedIn becomes very aggressive in the market and would try to get into our space, may face a kind of front there also.
Yeah, just the last one then is, what is the founders holding in this business in terms of percentage weight?
Founders and their associates and their trust all put together will be around 42-43%.
With Gaurav, I have no further questions.
Yeah, I think that's what I have. Just one question, and which is I think related, but just from Naukri, which is the main business. Is there any thought you have on the business this year? This year will be a challenging year on the billing rate. Anything that you would wish to share?
See, very frankly, Gaurav, things are now opening up, and none of us had any idea about how lockdowns will work, how the restrictions will go away. The number of cases are still increasing. There is
Yes.
government now pushing that we should start operations. So we're seeing that economy is opening up. There's no guidance again here, but we assume that Q1 is gone. We are already in last week of May, and June also things would take time to normalize. Few states will open again. Now what I've come to hear is that lockdown 5, there are few cities which will have complete lockdown, but rest of India may open up. Right? Or which all cities will be there? How much commercial impact will be there? We don't know right now. I'm assuming June is gone, so Q1 is completely, I would say, kind of a washout. Q2 onwards, hopefully, we should see some recovery happen, and by August, September, our business should be back to normal. Q3 onwards, we assume that the growth should start to set in, and that's a time where economy should also be completely full action. People would have started working out the kind of job losses that had happened in past we should be able to recover from that shock.
Sure.
Hopefully that is what the path we could see coming up in recruitment sector. Real estate may not happen for next 2-3 quarters. We are very, very conservative about it. We don't see that too much of recovery could happen in next 2 quarters.
Fair point. I think that's about it, Vivek. Thank you so much for a detailed insight into all your businesses, and it was interesting to know the journey so far. And hopefully, I'm sure with the building blocks in place, things will only become better and bigger for you.
Thanks, Gaurav.
Thanks everyone for joining for this session. We'll regroup again in 10 minutes for the next session. Thank you, Vivek, for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Vivek.
you.